Welcome to Creative Chelsea. Today I'd like to share with you how I made this cute card that can be used for a wedding or an anniversary with the Silhouette Scenes stamp set and the Sweet Silhouette dies. So to make this background, I used the Brush Show Crystal Pigment Sprinkles. And Stampin' Up used to sell these a couple years ago, and now they've come out with a new set of colors, but you could use the new colors to make a similar background. So I will walk you through how I made this background. So I started with a thicker cardstock, and you can use a watercolor paper or you can use just the thick cardstock that Stampin' Up sells. And you need a bottle of water. And I like to use my heat tool because that's going to speed up the drying process. And then I also have another retired product, and it's a tray from Stampin' Up, and it's pretty large. And I like to use that because it kind of contains the crystals because they can get everywhere. So I've got my paper in the tray, and the first thing I'm going to do is just spritz some water on my either my watercolor paper or my thick cardstock. Then I'm going to open up my brush show, and I keep them in the box because they can make a mess, like what I've said before. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to add is some blue, and then I'm going to use the red and the yellow. Just take those out. Let's add a little more water. So we want it to be pretty saturated so that that color can spread easily. So I'm going to put some blue down here. Oh, see, it's still soaking into the water. And then we'll put some red at the top. And I'm just sprinkling it. You don't need a lot. And then some yellow down the side. Maybe a little more blue. Oh, that blue comes out fast. Okay, so I'm going to add some more water, and you'll just kind of see that those sprinkles start to appear. And you can just add more or less water, more or less sprinkles, depending on how vibrant you want those colors to be. It's funny how in some spots it doesn't move. So a little bit more blue. Okay, so then you can kind of mix them a little bit by blending that water. Use a finger or a brush. You just can play with it however you want. I'm going to just let this sit and kind of soak into the paper, and then I'm going to dry it with my heat tool. So while that is doing that, I'm just going to move it to the side, and we'll work on the next steps. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do some heat embossing for the silhouette of the couple. So grab a scrap piece of paper that's going to fit your stamp, and then because I want it to stay dark, I'm going to use the Memento black, but you could use really any black ink that's just going to stay wet for a little bit because you want to be able to apply your powder right after you stamp it. So before we stamp, we should get the static electricity off the paper. So we're going to use this chalk. Just rub that around. And then let's ink up our stamp really well. We want a nice solid image with a lot of ink. Okay. So I'm just going to put that down and then go right to my powder. So this is Stampin' Up embossing powder, and I've just put it into a container so I can use it a little bit easier. And just pour that on top. And then tap off any excess. Okay, so we did get some, and that's good. I've got a little bit on the edges, but since we cut out the image, that doesn't matter. I want a nice solid black, so I'm not going to try and like get too much off. Okay, and then with the heat tool, I'm going to actually heat it from the bottom, and this keeps it from coming off the paper because I'm not blowing air at these little tiny pigments. All right, so if you've never used heat embossing before, then you'll know it's all melted when it gets shiny. And the black is a hard one to see. The silver and the gold, you can kind of tell immediately because it goes from a matte to a shiny finish. But I just love how it gives such a solid, shiny black to this cute silhouette. So the next step is to cut it out. So I'm just going to go around and do a fussy cut along the edge. Okay, so we have fussy cut out our silhouette. And as you're fussy cutting, you'll see all these cute details that this stamp has. You can see the little fingers that he's holding her back and her hair, her face, and you can see her hand up here. So it's just such a cute stamp set with these little details. Okay, so we've got our silhouette, and I've already cut out from my Big Shot this beautiful die for the background. And then I have also cut out the circle using the stitched shapes dies. And so all I need to do is stamp the greeting. So I'll do that now. And that also is just in black. Okay, so let's look at our background, see if we need to dry that some more. All right, so my color is definitely in my paper, so I'm just going to go ahead and dry this with my heat tool. Okay, so when I dry my paper like this, I always do the front and the back so that I kind of can keep it from warping too much. This one really warped a lot, and so right now it's cooling, and I'm just applying pressure to try and get it to cool in a flat, semi-flat state. But you can see that this is the background, and this background just has some beautiful, more pastel colors. So don't forget to turn around your paper, because the back might be a really pretty option as well. So we're just letting this cool, we're just smushing it, you know, trying to get it to stay flat. Okay, so we've got all of our pieces, and all we really need to do is assemble. So you can see how that pops right back up, but it's not as bad as it was. So we're just going to kind of bend it a little bit to try and get it a little flatter. Okay, so we're ready. So we've got a black card base, and to that we're going to add our watercolored paper, and I'm going to use two different adhesives for this. I'm going to do some snail and just do that in an X in the middle, and then I'm going to use some liquid around the edges. Okay, so I had to get a different glue out, but any liquid glue really will help. That's just going to keep those edges down and not pop up. Okay, so I'm going to add that card front to my card base. Get a little tissue to pull off any extra glue that comes up. Okay, so now we're going to apply the dye. All right, so I've got this silicone craft sheet, silicone mat, whatever it's called, and I'm going to put some glue here in the corner, and I'm just going to brush this glue into these little areas. Just kind of tap it. Mostly you want to do this near the tips so that those don't get they don't come off. All right. So this silicone craft sheet is, you can wash it really easily, so that's why I do it on that. Okay. So then this, instead of it coming out from the side like it's kind of made to, it's going to come out from that circle die that we've cut. So you just kind of, you can apply it so it's a little bit higher up on the card. And I'm just using a tissue so I try not to move any of the color from the brusho into that white. So that's pretty good. So then these two things are going to be glued together. I'm just going to use snail, and then we're going to pop them up with some dimensionals. There we go. And I kind of like it so that the text of the greeting is kind of right next to her back. And then let's pop it with some dimensionals. Okay, so when we place this, we want to make sure we cover this bottom part of the branch, and we can put it on this side, and that the words are level. And there we go. And then we can also add some rhinestones around, just to add a little bit of bling to our card. Let's put one down here. Okay. All right. So then we've got this beautiful, colorful card, and we've made this great watercolored background. Now, if you're not interested in making your own watercolor background, Stampin' Up! Does offer some beautiful paper in the 2019-2020 catalog that kind of gives you the same feeling. Vibrant colors, kind of a watercolor wash, and it looks great with the silhouette stamp sets. So if you want to give that a try instead of making your own, you are welcome to do that. You can purchase any products, Stampin' Up! Products from me, by visiting the link in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit creativechelsea.com for a free tutorial of this project and to purchase the supplies needed.
Have a creative day. Bye.